Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful astrology soulmates. It's me, Stormie Grace, and welcome to this video where we are going to talk about the new moon that is coming up in Virgo on August 23rd. Really exciting. It's another lunation. It's another opportunity and a chance for us to check in and see how we're doing and to have these really powerful resets. Now, this particular new moon, I also think is fascinating because we're starting this new moon at 0 degrees. And then as we get into September and we come to our new moon solar eclipse, that's going to be happening at 29 degrees. And in the middle of all of that is the South Node that has been working on removing these perfectionist, overdoing, overproducing, micromanaging energies. So we really are in this sweet spot of kind of seeing the full spectrum of where our Virgo energies are being refined. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Now, first and foremost, before we jump in, please make sure that you have your own natal chart so that you can see exactly where this is happening in your chart, because no matter who you are listening to on YouTube, reading books, unless they are specifically working off of your chart, you're only getting a general reading. And while the generals can be really good and really informative, you want to have your particular chart because the best astrology is your astrology, and you can't know what that is without your chart. Now, for those of you who are ready and you're thinking, I don't want to just listen to forecasts. I want to have my chart. I want to be able to read it and be able to speak, really speak astrology more fluently. I would love to see you over in GAFA, which is my astrology school, the Grace Astrological Fluency Academy. And you can jump in the description box down below and jump into the classes and start. Just start speaking astrology based off your chart and based off this ancient craft. Okay, beautiful friends. Now let's jump in and start to look at and talk about what is happening at this new moon, because there is a fair amount of nuance that's going to go into this, including the fact that when we look at the lunation family that is coming up, we are right at the beginning. Oftentimes, when I'm talking to you, we're kind of moving and we're looking back in the cycles. Certainly, recently, we've been looking a lot back in cycles, right? Now we're at the start of one. So you have the opportunity to plant your seeds of intention in the garden of your life to really bloom something that you want to grow into over this next 27 months. Okay, let's jump to the screen and we're going to jump to the chart, looking first at this lunation cycle. Okay, starting here today, right as we're looking at the 23rd, we've got this new moon happening at 0 degrees of Virgo. And this is where the sky is dark, the sun and the moon are traveling together. So when the luminaries are together, anything is possible. We can create anything, even if the feeling of it feels vague. The theme here is set in motion. You're going to set it in motion. Now, the one thing that I talk about and my teacher, Stephen Forrest, talks about as well is that at a new moon, please be very choosy with what you are planting here. Don't take it lightly, right? Because for good or for ill, what you plant here is going to take root and start to grow, and you're going to work on it for quite some time, right? So be choosy, put a little ceremony, a little ritual into your life. Let it be a day of sacredness for you in your own life, however you'd like to celebrate that. But we're going to be starting things that are more Virgo, right? Asking the question of ourselves, what am I going to begin here? And how can I refine my life so that it aligns with what I think is my soul's higher plan, right? You're invited to the intention of a little bit of a plan, a little bit of footwork, some discipline, some care in the details, in looking at how your life can be of service to you and to others. But also, the thing that I think that Virgo does brilliantly is that it builds solid systems that allow you to be free, not bind you and not have you living in servitude, right? So your energy, as we're starting here, you're going to see you're going to build systems that your energy invested, once invested, really matters and produces an outcome. So think about that as you're coming into the ceremony of this new moon time. And typically, even though we're going to work with the new moon in this 27-month cycle, the first 8 hours after a lunation are really just, they're juicy. You know, you get your fingers in it and get all pruny. So if you are not up at exactly the new moon time, I don't want you to stress about that. You've still got some delicious 8 hours to take a little ceremony. Now, from there, what you're planting. We're going to check back in on May 23rd of 2026 at the first quarter moon that's going to be happening at 2 degrees of Virgo. Now, at first quarter time, the garden has been planted, okay? And you're starting to have some clarity, right? The truth of the action you need to take, the obstacles you need to overcome, you're going to be in it. And this is where I always warn people. People, places, and things start to fall out of your life so fast at the first quarter time. And remember, it happens also for us every month when we're just looking at a regular lunation cycle. But those things are being removed because what you specifically have requested on August 23rd, these things don't belong in the garden. So let the universe do the weeding of your garden, right? Tension and opportunity are really the theme and action of what's going on at this first quarter time. So expect to be in action from May 23rd going all the way until February 20th of 2027. So when we get there, we're going to be at the full moon, and this is back at that 2 degrees of Virgo. So I'm telling you, note it down. Note where this is on your chart. Put it in your journal so that when I'm doing the forecast, February of 2027, you can be like, Stormy, this is what happened, girl. This is what I was doing. This is what I was working on. Because then we've got all the lights on in the sky, right? The truth of what's happened, the celebration of what you've built or what you've come to realize that is some kind of system that's actually allowing you to live more free could be in place here, right? Now, the full moon's going to ask you to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment because you're going to have a lot of clarity. And we need to pivot and say, those things I don't need anymore. They don't help me get to the goal. These things I need to keep going with or bring in, and I'm going to commit to this side of the road. Okay. Now we're going to finish the cycle when we get to November 21st of 2027. And this steps very close to the Virgo energy, but it's not fully. This one's going to be at 28 degrees of Leo, actually. So we're using this within orb to find this family. Okay. So this is the last quarter time. So it's going to be when we see that the cycle you're putting in place at this new moon is coming to a close, right? We're going to see that the wisdom that you needed, now it's been integrated, some kind of recognition that you needed, some kind of structure, some kind of system, some kind of answering what is going to refine my life and my discipline and my behaviors and my thinking and my health in order for me to be in alignment with my higher calling or my higher path, right? This is where we're going to see it all come together. So I hope that not only are you noting this down in your journal, but you also have the opportunity as we're heading into 2026 to pick up your digital transit calendar from our friends at Wise Skies Collective. You guys know I talk about it every year, and I love that transit calendar because Tiffany also goes through the lunar families, right? So you can see in your time zone where you are in the world next to your chart, where did these transits actually fill in and help you get a bigger picture? Because remember, the best astrology is your astrology where these Virgo seeds are going to be planted. Okay, now let's jump in and take an astrological look at the aspects, the big overview of what this lunation is bringing into us. First of all, by technique, when we're at a new moon, the sun and the moon are together, and we can see here that they are together at 0 degrees of Virgo. So this is what is setting the tone for us, right? It's setting the tone for that fresh start, health, work, service, systems. And Virgo is the archetype of service and devotion, not just to others, though. But the sacred craft of daily living is really where Virgo brings our attention. So even as I'm saying this to you, do you feel like in your day-to-day life, from the time you go to bed to when you are getting back up and moving through your day, do you feel like you have the archetype of devotion into your life, right? It doesn't mean it looks or feels a certain way, but for you, it's a devotion. If not, that's okay. And if so, that's okay. But this lunation, I think, is a reminder to us in that Virgo energy that big transformations, these big changes that we want in our lives, they come from small, consistent actions that play out into those bigger results. Virgo is less about the big dramatic breakthroughs, right? We don't need the Leo vibe here. It's humble. It's a daily dedication to something that we're taking on because Virgo wants discernment, focus, and it wants to clean the lens, right? It's like, I want to clean the lens so that you can really see your life clearly and see how those small, consistent daily devotions in your world are leading you where you want to go or taking you from where you want to go. So, thinking about that in the Virgo area of your chart in general, at this lunation, some of you might just become very Virgo, right? You might start decluttering your house. You're changing your eating habits. You're tightening up a schedule or you're adjusting it so that it has more value, more discernment, more precision, but also more freedom, right? It's also a great time. Just look around. Where has life gotten a little messy? Are there emails or tasks that you've been avoiding? Are there promises that you said you would do it and you haven't done it? Or somebody said something to you and now you need to follow up with them? Projects left undone, whatever it is, the Virgo urge can be to go on out there and get them in order. But whatever you do, I would say just remember that Virgo focuses on one small tangible shift that will ripple out into the next thing. Make a commitment to the small daily doings is a great way to work with just that energy in general. Okay, now we have to talk about this very big, beautiful aspect that is available for us in this chart, and that is the yod. The yod is a chart formation, and I call it the fated adjustments because you have to adjust. Whenever quincunx gets involved, you have to adjust. But you'll also hear it called the finger of God pattern. Now, as we can see in the chart, these blue lines that we see coming down to the lunation between Saturn and Neptune, who are over in Aries, and then Pluto, who's over in Aquarius here. And we see that it makes this triangle shaped point and the finger of God being down here on our lunation. Okay, that's the point where it's kind of like God's being like, here, look at this. Now, the yod itself can feel like almost honestly like the universe is like leaning over your shoulder and saying, go this way. No, this way. Right? It's a course correction, is what the energy can feel like. And the way that it can arrive, because you're trying to make this adjustment and you can't quite necessarily get it, you can't get all of the parts to move. So it can feel like challenge, it can feel like surprise. And the other thing about it is that it's typically subtle. I call it like the itchy tag of your shirt, right? Like something needs to be changed or adjusted, but it's relentless and you cannot get it to like adjust. So it is that adjusting energy. So as this lunation's coming up, if you feel like just trying to get it to go a little bit, I want you to know that might be the yod speaking into your chart. You might have a very yod experience where you're feeling torn between responsibility, which would be Saturn, and the idealism, which is more of that Neptunian energy. And then, oh, by the way, I need to transform, which is the Plutonian energy. So, you're trying to follow this dream and bring it into reality, but you're like, yeah, also the bills need to be paid. So, it's there, it's meant, but you can't quite get there. Or you want to reinvent yourself, but it's like you can't get the old you to shake off, if that makes any kind of sense. So, where I want to just offer a little bit of strategy here, whenever quincunx comes into the energy, it becomes an adjustment. And it's not always about resolution. It's typically not about resolution. It's discomfort and learning to be with the discomfort and make small adjustments to get things to kind of work out, right? So seeing the discomfort not as a block, but kind of being refined in the fire, refined in the earth for the better use of Virgo's energy, right? And Virgo here is going to refine you by precision. It's precision to adjust your plan so that both the dream and the reality can be honored. That is a great way to work with a yod. Just go to each side. Don't necessarily try and get them to come together. That's going to create more intensity in the adjustment and the discomfort. Instead, accept both sides as they are. The lunation's happening in Virgo, and from the inside out, you're starting to create a plan with baby steps that you can succeed. And you're allowing what you need to transform Pluto into to just reveal itself, right? You're also allowing a little bit of the responsibility and the idealism over here to kind of speak to each other. Now, inside of a yacht, while we have the adjusting energies of the quincunx that do not get each other, they don't understand each other, we've got some supportive sextiles. And in the sextiles, the planets do understand each other. So first of all, we see the sextile happening here between Saturn, Neptune there in Aries, and Pluto. Now we have a third planet that gets involved in here, but we'll talk about Uranus in a minute, okay? But first, we've got this sextile happening between Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. And it's reformative energy because while the discomfort portions don't understand each other, these two do. So, as you're experiencing the niceness of these sextiles and getting support for what you're trying to work on, remember, they're essentially saying to each other, okay, well, I understand what you want to do and what you're going for. Tell me about it. Just tell me about it. Okay. So, we've got Saturn and Neptune here in Aries, and they are bringing a bit of a blessing of the vision. Like, I need to take responsibility for the vision and be able to move this forward, but I need to also see the action. So as they come together in their sextile, Pluto is saying, all right, well, I see the depth and I see how serious it is that we make the change, and maybe even how powerless you feel about, especially making a collective change, changing into what you need to be to live and move and have your being in the new world. But then Saturn and Neptune will blend the dream and the discipline together to start to walk it forward. Now, we can't really leave Uranus out of this conversation because we've got this lunation in a square to Uranus, and Uranus is the jolt, right? Rick Levine talks about it like if you're on the fence or energy is stagnant, Uranus comes as the lightning bolt to break it down, open the frame, and get you off of the fence. And so, as the new moon is squaring against Uranus, who's Gemini, first of all, it's a mutable square. So, it can be not only disruptive and awakening, all of the things that Uranus is, but it can also be we're worrying. I'm just worrying about it. I'm just worrying about this. I'm worrying I'm going to stay stuck. I'm worrying it's going to always be like this. But Uranus represents the sudden brilliance and rebellion and insight and innovation that we need to have the courage to take on these actions, right? Because when it's in a tense square, it breaks apart the structure that's too rigid, too outdated, not the best, not functioning well. And in Gemini, Uranus right now is delivering the change through information, through communication, through changing the way that we think and these mental breakthroughs that are available to us. Now, in a very external kind of way in the world, we have to acknowledge that there can be shocking headlines, shocking news that comes into our world, and this gets us to start thinking different. But also, in a very personal kind of way, we can receive what we perceive to be shocking news, unexpected conversations, ideas that challenge a view that I've had, and we're becoming a bit enlightened, right? We're having to innovate. And so it's kind of neat that all of this is happening in two mercurial energies because Virgo's instinct for order is coming against Gemini's appetite for curiosity and novelty. And while that result can be a bit chaotic because they're both mutable, it is actually a great place to accelerate the shift in our minds, the shift in the story, a liberation of old thinking that we need in order to have these daily devotions, right? This is the cosmic equivalent of what I would call just a life shakeup, a market shakeup. It's unsettling in its movement, but it's actually an opportunity to move forward and you're more wise. Now, when we look at the fact that the sextiles also include the sextile to Uranus, man, we have to add this layer of the story in because Uranus now is like, okay, I see that our poor person is very uncomfortable down here. I'm going to try and break them out of their thinking, old ideas, new information, but I'm going to also spark innovation. In the sextile, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto, I'm going to provide innovation. So the trio, everybody together here, offers the chance to manifest something that is grounded, it is sustainable, and it's a lot more visionary. It is beyond even where you thought you'd be right here in 2025. And from an evolutionary perspective, I see this as the gift of momentum. At the soul level, you're being offered the tools that you need to kind of have this quantum leap forward, both in purpose and also quite practically as well. But in a humanistic strategy, you're a human being also being in this world. I think it's a place where your imagination plus the capacity for some kind of disciplined effort is what is going to produce something really meaningful for you. So, yes, this is the new moon, but also the signatures that are in this new moon make it a great time for launching a new project, for process improvement. You know, if you've been trying to eat better in your process of improving your eating, where is there a bump or a lump? Where do you need some creative problem solving about something else in your life? You know, whatever this is, use this particular set of sextiles to not try and fight against the discomfort of trying to make it all work together, but instead as a burst of clarity where the energy is already easy, and go on ahead and make that tangible. Make the steps, make a plan, make the steps, make a map of the steps. Virgo thrives when it has a vision and a little bit of step work to create a beautiful container. Oh, it's going to be a really interesting lunation to see where has that south node in Virgo been working, and it's removed some of your need to micromanage for things to be perfect. I can't put it out until it's perfect. The business of I need to have a full plan, right? Because we also are moving towards that north node and Pisces side, which is I do make the plan, and then I have to let the universe do the heavy lifting. I have to let the plan work. I can sustain in discomfort without losing hope and without losing momentum of small daily devotions, right? Now, when we eclipse in September at that 29 degrees, this is going to be you demonstrating everything you have learned about Virgo in like the last year. And I can't wait to see what you see that you have learned. All right, my beautiful friends, I hope that you have an absolutely brilliant lunation. Please let me know in the comment section down below where this is happening in your chart. For me, it is happening at the ascendant. I'm a 3-degree Virgo rising, so it'll actually be just out of conjunction right there for it, just right there. But let me know where this is in your chart. And please make sure that you've checked out your monthly and your weekly videos so that you know what's going on in the flow of energy. And if you're looking to learn more about astrological techniques or what things mean, I've got a need to know playlist that is teaching you lots of cool astrology concepts. So check them out all in the description box down below and at the end of this video. Bye, my beautiful friends.